But yeah, there's definitely something for me about that. Sometimes environment is the game changer for whether you are going to be creative or not. And a lot of people are struggling with either like negativity in their environment or with dullness or like deadness or lack of life in their environment. And they don't think about it because it's not something that gets a lot of airtime from, like kind of the influencer sphere. But it is a big game changer for writers who have that need for natural connection. They'll get stuck and stalled and they can't write if they're not, in nature.
Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives. Welcome to episode 442 of the Stark Reflections podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. Well, in the interest of full transparency, this is the digitally generated AI voice clone of Mark Leslie Lefebvre, as created by 11 Labs. In today's episode, I have an interview with Becca Syme, an author of mystery and paranormal romance novels, as well as a Gallup-Certified Strengths Coach, who has individually coached more than 6,000 authors at all levels. Becca is the author of the Quitbooks for Writers series, which she started in 2017, and the founder and host of the Write Better Faster courses. We talk about her writing, her journey in empowering and coaching authors, and her new Kickstarter, which is all about what to quit, keep, and question in the new era of publishing. And that interview is coming up very shortly. But first, here's a word about this episode's sponsor. This episode is sponsored by my affiliate link to Manuscript Report. If you've written or published a book and are now wondering, what next? You might want to take a look at manuscriptreport.com. This is a tool built specifically for authors keen on understanding more about the nuances, themes, tropes, and other elements of their manuscript, and leveraging those insights to understand its position in the marketplace and help enable you with marketing assets you can use. Manuscript Report helps clarify your book's positioning with such factors as who your target readers are, potential hook and log lines for those audiences, and how your book might align with existing titles considered comp titles, as well as how it stands out uniquely from those books and authors. When you know those elements, your book promotions stop feeling like scattershot darts and start feeling like targeted calls to the exact people who care. If you're serious about finding the right readers and a list of valuable marketing assets, then check out manuscriptreport.com. Use the affiliate code MARK5 at checkout, and you'll save $5 off your report. But more importantly, you'll walk away with clarity on what your book is and who it's for. Let's turn your story into something readers pick up, not just by chance, but because it was built for them to find it. As mentioned in episode 442, I'm in Las Vegas this week, where I will get to see Becca and Roland and hundreds of other amazing author friends at Author Nation. I'm producing this episode from my hotel room, and to avoid the horrible acoustics and the fact I do not have a proper microphone, that's why you're listening. Not to my human voice, but to my digital voice clone created by 11 Labs. But these are my words. I typed them up myself. I'm going to forego sharing comments from recent episodes or a personal update, and we'll skip right into this interview, which is coming up after this bumper. Hey, Becca, welcome back to the Stark Reflections podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It has been a long year since having been here, but I'm excited to be back.
Has it only been a year?
It's
I
been
was
a
gonna think
little
it was like
over a
three
year.
years at least, right?
I know it feels like every year after 2020 is 10 years long, I
Yeah, I
think.
know. Which is great because at my age, that extension of life is pretty amazing. It's like,
Yeah.
woo!
Be kind to my friend Mark. Be kind to my
Okay,
friend
yes, I
Mark.
will. I will. But no, that is kind of good. That it
Yeah.
seems like so long, but amazing. It's only been a year. Okay, so you're up to something that you've never done before. Let's. What might that be, Becca?
Yes, as much as I love to give other people advice about all of the great things that they should do for their marketing, I do not market myself. I don't like to do it.
Right.
And so I was issued a challenge this time with the Kickstarter of what would happen? Like, would you get a wider audience? And so it was sort of a question in terms of let's experiment with it and see what happens. And so I'm doing a tour stop game, which is like, I think we're doing 18 stops on 15 shows.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I'm just like going and asking everybody that I know who has a podcast in the writing space to see if I can get on and talk about the content of the Kickstarter. But intentions are to encourage people to go to other podcasts. So we actually have a page on the website that is the Tour Stop Game page, and it shows everywhere we're going to be, and it gives
That's cool.
links if the show's done. And then there's a way to enter to win prizes because we made, of course, individualized prizes for each tour stop, which not a
Oh my
surprise for
God, that is
people.
so exciting.
It's
So that
very
means there's
fun.
a prize coming up for
There's a
listeners.
prize coming up for people who listen to this episode and then
Wow.
go to betterfasteracademy.com/tour stop game and then put on the spreadsheet that you listened to Mark's podcast. And we're giving away an individualized bracelet for each with a little quote from each stop, and each stop will be different, right?
Oh,
So you'll
wow.
so someone who listens to this exact podcast is going to get a individualized personalized bracelet from us for
Wow.
telling us that you listen to this podcast. So
That is so
it's
cool.
a
What a
it's
great way to track that the people are actually
who's
attending to.
listening and who's
Yeah.
attending, and giving people who listen an opportunity to participate, even if they can't participate in the Kickstarter, because
Yeah.
we changed a little bit of the Kickstarter this year. We're not doing international shipping this time.
Yeah.
So we're only doing US shipping, and then all of the international rewards are virtual,
Right.
which was a very sad choice to make, but
Yeah.
it's so much difficulty trying to do international shipping right now. And so I thought I want to make it possible for people who don't live in the US to still be able to participate and feel like they're doing something fun.
Very inclusive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're doing this tour stop game,
Wow.
and I'm trying to make each interview completely different. So like focus it, which will not be hard because the book has 55 chapters currently, and there are more being written constantly.
Of course.
Um yeah. So I feel like I can kind of focus on a different part on every interview, and then it also
Right.
helps people who want to listen to all the interviews feel like they get some different content every time. So,
I love that. So they're getting different value and they can put all these pieces together themselves, which I
yeah.
always recommend authors do is take it in, put it in your own little order that makes sense for you.
Yep.
So I have to mention this because I just
Yeah.
recently did this with two Kickstarters that were not shipping internationally because I'm a book nerd, because I love autographs, because I want to have that trophy, that on my wall.
Yeah.
I put in a comment saying, I don't care if I don't get the book for years. I want the physical copy, please. Next time I see you, can I please get you to bring it? Or or I'll see if I can have it sent to a friend of mine in the States. So, for anyone who's listening who really wants physical objects, if you have a friend in the US, potentially that could be a way you could still get the additional extras,
Oh, I'm glad you
physical
said
extras.
that. I'm glad you said that because we actually have a collectible. So I'm doing a vinyl album for this Kickstarter for an audio uh reward. We have a
Yeah.
limited number of vinyl albums that we're making, and then
Vinyl.
they're vinyl. Yep. a limited number, and they're going to be numbered and like autographed. So I'm actually going to have the autographed vinyls. And so we're going to give away one of the vinyls for the whole Tour Stop Game grand prize. We're going to give away one of the vinyls as one of the grand prizes. And then additionally, but I hadn't thought of, like, you could have a friend, if you ever come to the US, you could have a friend buy the vinyl, support the Kickstarter, buy the vinyl, and then you could actually just pick it up the next time you come to the US or when they
Yeah.
go overseas as well. So we're going to ship them in the special containers so they don't, like,
Yeah.
they're special boxes that you
Of
ship
course. Yeah.
albums in and stuff. So that's a great idea. Thank you
That's
for
a
that.
hack that I have used when I want to support
That's so
somebody
great.
who isn't able
I
to
love
ship
that.
internationally, and then I usually beg them, please. I've either used a friend's address, or I've also just used 1234 Mark Lives in Canada Street. Yeah. And then just pick a city and a zip code.
I love that.
And then when they see it, they kind of know, well, I can't ship there. So
Yeah, I
I usually
love
use
that. That's
90210 because that's one of the only zip codes I've ever memorized.
they also have a 12345 zip code that you could
Well,
use
that
if you
would be
wanted.
even better.
That
Yeah.
would be
So
so easy. Yeah, or oh one two
okay,
three
all
four.
right. But they're
Thank
a
you for
little
that. That's awesome.
little bit of a hack for helping people who still want to be involved with physical stuff. But you can always get digital stuff. So just briefly, so some of the digital rewards. I wonder if you have video and audio content.
I do. I have both video and audio content. And actually, I don't know if you've heard about this yet because it just came out on their podcast not too long ago. But BookFunnel is starting to do virtual signings on
Yes.
their. I don't know if you saw
I
that.
saw that at RWA initially here in Ontario, Canada, earlier
And
this
so
summer.
it's going to be so cool. And they just did a demo release where you can watch Jack do a demo of it on
Yeah,
their video, their YouTube channel. And Rich told me they were going to sort of do a big release of it at Author Nation this year. And so I'm
yeah,
like, well, if it's ready, I would love to be able to do actual signed, digital versions for people through
fantastic.
BookFunnel. So we do have some video, we have some digital, but so we do still have rewards that international listeners can partake in,
Right.
and I'm excited about those. Yeah.
That is so awesome. So you had mentioned there's 54 and counting specific things. So what is this because you've got the Quitcast, you've got the Quitbooks, you've got this incredible knowledge of insight and information for I always call it emotional support is one of the things that I always get from you. I always walk away, whether it's a conversation with you, whether it's something I've read of yours, whether I've watched you in a video or whatever. I always walk away feeling inspired and lifted. What's the genesis of this particular project for that, that you're launching with the Kickstarter?
Yeah, that's definitely the core of it, I think, is the original Quit book was written and released in 2017, which was 8 years ago, right?
Right.
So we've got 8 years have passed since sort of the height of the gold rush. We're now fully into a very different feeling publishing industry than it was in 2017. For those of you who were around,
Yeah.
like Mark was in 2017, the
Back
height
in
of the
my
gold
day.
rush back in the day, the height of the gold rush was sort of the epitome of the Dear Writer You Need to Quit book, right? It was like, hey,
Yeah.
there's too much opportunity. You are worried that you're going to miss out on this stuff. And so here is a book to help you kind of quit the things that you can and narrow down your choice options. And the name of the new book release is Dear Writer, You Still Need to Quit, which is basically the did you not listen the first time, Kevin? Because we usually don't listen the first time.
Yeah.
But now that we've had some struggle, probably some of us have had some lack of success or success that has been very painful or success that hasn't been what we thought it would be. This is sort of now that we're in a fully established industry with rules of independent publishing, that's no longer the waste, the Wild West. What do we need to quit now that we are kind of fully immersed in a real solid industry that is probably more competitive than it was,
Right.
8 years ago. So a lot of the book is around, I call it a guidebook for surviving and thriving in today's publishing world in 2025.
Oh,
So,
wow. Cool.
yeah.
Cool. And I was always curious, is that would it be called Dear Writer, you really, really need to quit? No. So I'm kidding.
Yes. I s- you know how it's real popular to put the F word in everybody's book
Oh
titles
my
right
God.
now?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I was like the whole like just F and quit already kind of thing. I don't know if this is explicit podcast or not,
Oh,
but
you just said effing, so that's fine. I won't
okay,
have to
good.
bleep
Yeah.
that.
The 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 still need to quit is sort of like it's please listen, like
Yeah,
please avail yourself of the
right.
the sort of wisdom of 6,000 plus people coached, but also that none of this will shock anyone. Like a lot of what you're going to hear in this book is stuff that you have been told before. And either you haven't understood why it's important to do, and so there isn't an easy way to execute on it. Like I do this, I do these continuums of archetypes of decision making with authors, right? Where it's like, if you want to approach the question of should I write to market or not, rather than assuming that there's just one hard and fast rule, like you should write to market, it's, well, some people should and some people shouldn't. So how do you figure out where you land on that continuum? And I will take something like that and I'll say, okay, there's of the people who are successfully experiencing writing life on this continuum, here's the four types of decisions that they're making. Are they fully writing to market and just like completely immersing themselves in the reader expectations and doing exactly what the market says that they should do? Are they an island on their own where they're really not listening to anyone and they DGAF about what anybody thinks? Are
Yeah,
they trailblazing and trying to do something completely different? Right? Like
yeah,
these kind of four designations. So I do a lot of like there is no rule, but that can be disconcerting for some people. So if
yeah.
we assume that there is certainty to find, how might you categorize yourself to be able to find certainty? And I limit the questions to just a very specific question, like, should I write to market? Well, there are a whole bunch of reasons why you may or may not do that. So let's talk about all of those. So for me, a lot of the um, earned wisdom in this book is about we just don't know a big enough picture sometimes of what's really going on out there. And I think my goal is to shed some light on the bigger picture of publishing decisions and try to help authors make good choices.
I love that. I love that. That is, I cannot wait to get my hands on it. So the Kickstarter's live now. So we're recording this in three-quarters of the way through October 2025. For those of
Hmm.
you, hello, future people. And it's running until, like you said, the end of November
The
2025, right?
22nd of November, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, so
And then
like a
it'll
couple
be
months.
and then the book itself will be available for pre-order at some point right after the Kickstarter's done. So whether you are here for the Kickstarter and Tour Stop game or not,
Yeah.
you'll be able to get your hands on the book at some point.
Oh, I cannot wait to get my hands on that book. Oh boy. Is the book going to be available like in early 2026 or something like that, or?
Yeah, my hope is to get the pre-order up before the Kickstarter is fully done, just so people
Right.
will have that easy transition. And then have the book itself launch in January is my hope.
Okay.
We're going to try something new with the paperbacks, where we're trying to do some like sprayed edges, not new for the industry, new for me,
For you, yeah.
where we're trying to do some things with the paperback to make it really special and cool. And so I want to see if we can make that work
Right.
before I do the paperback release. But at least for the digital version, we're going to do uh, January, mid-January
That's
would be my guess.
very fun. Very fun.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you have some sort of landing page that's just gonna migrate over to the
Yep.
pre-order for the book, or the link for the book after the Kickstarter's over. But what's that? Let's not wait. What's that
Yeah.
URL?
So it's betterfasteracademy.com/links. And if it is live, the Kickstarter's live, it'll be the first link on there. If the book is it, then the pre-order will be on there. But that's kind of our general catch-all for everything. By the way, if you're a strengths person, the other thing that's on that page are all the individual videos about individual strengths.
Yeah.
So the Clifton Strengths personality sort of success metric that I coach,
Right.
we do videos with authors to show what a strength can look like in authors who are doing it really well. And so all of those are also our next step videos are on that link too. So one stop shop. I mean, the
I
videos are free, but you know,
and amazing, amazing
yeah, they're really
resources
great.
for authors. I still go back to that therapy session you gave me on my podcast when we went through my strengths,
Yeah,
and I regularly mention to people how impactful that continues to be to this day.
good.
I can't
Yeah.
believe how much you've improved my life. So thank you.
Well,
I was even, I know a weird thing. I was watching I Like Me, a John Candy documentary recently,
nice.
and some things that came up in that documentary, I was like, oh, like what Becca said. And it was kind of
Oh,
like,
interesting.
I mean, it comes back in the strangest ways where I'm reminded of something that you helped me understand about myself I had never seen before. You must get that a lot from writers who come back and they're kind of like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's interesting because so much of the self-knowledge, I guess the revelation about ourselves is something that we have noticed about us in the past, but either we don't understand it or we think everyone is that way. And we don't understand why everybody doesn't think like this, or we think no one else could possibly be this weird, right? Like there's kind of all those different responses. And I get a lot of people who are like, "Oh, well, I like here's just one example that happens a lot in the writing community, right? There's a strength called achiever. And achiever is I want to check boxes and make progress and work, 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 right? And a lot of people will look at successful authors and assume, like, well, because I see three or four or five people who all have achiever dominant, and they're just filling their plates to 11 and they're so busy all the time and they're doing everything, that's the only way to be successful, right? And a lot of people who don't have achiever look at it and think I should have that, and then I'll say, well, but if you know the plethora of successful authors, there are so many authors out there who don't have that in their top 5 who are successful, and the way that they look successful is different than the people who have it. But if I have achiever, I think everybody has it. The easiest thing in
Right.
the world is for me to be active and to check things off of lists and to work hard and to have a lot of stamina. So when other people aren't doing it, I wonder, like, how do I motivate people to want to work harder? How do I get them to fill their plate bigger? How do I get them to push, And it's like, that's for you, though. That's not for everyone. And other people can have success not looking like that. But it becomes really easy to either see how I am wired, that is how everyone should be, because I like that about myself, or we see, something that we have that we think is weird. And we're like, well, no one has this. And it's like, no,
Right.
everyone shares it. Like, yeah.
So
Yeah.
the I love your insights. They're constantly valuable. When I and I think I've only ever had the opportunity to, which has been an amazing opportunity, to see you speak live, to have a conversation with you, to get to interview you. I've only ever talked about what you do to help other writers. How does Becca help herself? Because Becca's a mystery writer as well. Does Becca
Yes.
give herself as much, well, probably not as much time as she gives other people, but do you still manage to fit that in?
Yeah, I do. It's something that I challenged myself to do more in the last year than I have in the past. And actually, it's interesting the way that I'm wired. I'm such a people person by nature. Not like I don't like crowds and
Yeah.
I don't like strangers as much, which is weird, but um I really like the collaborative nature. And so a lot of when I have been the most productive as a writer is when somebody else is also really interested in how productive I am. And so what's happened in the last 6 months, especially, is I started dating somebody who's a writer. And because he really, really likes to write, we talk about writing a lot and we write, like we go to write fiction. We talk about my books, we talk about his books, and now he has an interest also in my fiction, um, because he likes me. But it has made me write more because somebody
Amazing.
else is also interested in, in the writing,
You
right? Which is
both
so
write fiction
cool.
and nonfiction, which is
We
amazing
do.
too,
We
right?
both
Yeah.
write both, which is hilarious. And we actually talk about my nonfiction just probably just as much as the fiction, but he knows that I really want to write more fiction, and so does he, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Nonfiction
Yeah.
for both of us is probably a little easier to write,
Yeah.
but it has made a real big difference for me to have that sort of community around me that is encouraging me to do more fiction writing. My most productive times were when I had a co-writer and when I was part of a team that was collaborating in a world, right, where we were all writing in the same
Oh,
world,
you mean Becca, the people pleaser, works really well with
right?
other
Who's
writers because she
surprised?
never wants to
Yeah.
let them down, right?
Yeah, who's surprised at that? But it's been interesting to see how much more I work on my fiction because I sort of have that interested party who's asking me questions,
Right.
and we're talking about it more. So that has been really great. I don't know that I would have done that for myself, right? Like I don't know that I
Right.
would be writing as much if it was just for me, because so much of what I do, you mentioned it, right, is for other people. So, but I'm really glad because it's kind
Yeah.
of a hack to get myself to do more of what I want to do, surround myself with people who also want me to do those things.
Yeah. Oh, that is, I'm even more happy for the two of you. So
Yeah.
that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know him and he's amazing and you're
Indeed,
amazing.
you
So
two are two amazing individuals. I have tremendous respect for both of you, and now you have this poweredness together. So that's awesome.
yeah. Yeah, I love that.
So, 8 years ago, dear
Mhm.
writer, you need to quit. And you mentioned the industry's changed a lot. What's changed for your business since you started?
Yeah, it's interesting. I never intended to build a business as a coach or as a nonfiction writer. I was a fiction writer since I was old enough to hold a pencil, really. Like I've wanted to be an author. And I did a part of an MFA in as an undergrad or as after undergrad. And so I was trying to get into the fiction space. I got my first contract and I started making a lot of friends who were other authors. And then when indie came along, it was almost like I had this whole set of skills from the work that I had been doing in coaching and consulting, that authors sort of needed. And so my friends just kept asking me questions, and I would kind of pop in and be like, well, if you use strengths to explain this, you can actually, et cetera. And then I would just start helping. And I started teaching a class because somebody asked me. She says, it's almost like everything that I have done has been somebody suggested that I do this thing. And so what's primarily different for me is that I have this business that I just never expected to have. I always expected that I would continue because I was a full-time fiction writer at the time. I
Right.
always expected I would just continue to be writing fiction. So probably my biggest surprise has been the growth of this business and then the minimizing of my fiction writing, which
Yeah.
has been a little painful. But it has really surprised me how much need there has been for the kind of work that I do,
Right.
with authors, and it's been great to be able to do it. But it's been a little bit of a shock, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine. I'm so glad to hear that you're prioritizing your fiction as well, because I
Me
can
too.
imagine there may be readers out there that are thinking, what, where,
Oh yeah,
when?
yes. And I have two pen names. The worst part of it is
Yeah.
that I have two pen
You
names,
mean
and it's
two in
really
addition
hard.
to? Or
In
like,
addition to in addition to Becca Syme, I have both. I have a contemporary name and then also a paranormal name, and
right.
so I have both like mysteries and urban fantasy and things like that.
Yeah.
So I have an ongoing contemporary series. I have an ongoing paranormal series. Well, two ongoing paranormal series, and I think my paranormal series, the last book they got from me was in 2022.
Okay.
And the contemporary people, I think I did a 2023 book, but I haven't produced anything in fiction other than things that I'm working on for release, like
Right.
stuff that I have been writing, but I haven't published anything for a couple of years. And my R.L. Syme fans, the contemporary stuff are probably the most loud about it.
Right.
Um, but but I will say it, it's just really nice to be thinking about more fiction now,
Yeah.
just from a perspective of like that's what I've always wanted to do,
Yeah.
and I had this time period for several years where that's all I was doing. Like I was a fully immersed fiction author running a business,
Yeah.
hybrid author. It was great. I loved it. Best years of my life so far. Although, is it really? Every year has been the best year. Um,
Just keeps getting better.
it just keeps getting better. But I really miss that. Like just as a for instance, I went on a research trip last week because I'm starting a new series in my contemporary mystery name. And we went to convents and apple orchards and old inns and lakeside towns in New Hampshire, and it was it was like being back in 2017 again, where I had this like whole hope and plan, for what I wanted to do, and it was a vacation from my day job this time because my
Yeah.
day job coaching authors, right? I had to
Yeah.
take a week off from that. But it was still a week of work for fiction and it was amazing. I had a great time and
Wow.
when I planned most of the series out, and so I feel ready to go in a way that I haven't in a while, and it's been incredible.
You reminded me of something. I was talking with someone at a writers' conference this last weekend about the idea of celebrity. And when you're known in certain spaces, you can't just go and have lunch and not be interrupted. Not because people are rude, but they're excited to meet you. I suspect that Becca Syme going goes to an inn, researching for is it paranormal or mystery? Which one were you
So the
writing?
contemporary mystery, yeah.
Contemporary mystery. So going to an inn to do some research for contemporary mystery and just wants to be incognito to absorb into whatever. And then another writer's there is like, oh my God, it's Becca Syme. It's like, no, I want to be in which pseudonym were you that weekend?
R.L. Syme, yeah.
You were R.L.
Yeah,
Syme instead of Becca
which is,
Syme. And
yeah, it's still me, unfortunately,
I
which was
know.
not smart. I wish that I had not done that. By the way, everybody use a pen name unless you really want to use your real name. But
But you're okay with people knowing.
Mhm.
It's not like you're writing children's books and then you're doing like really naughty erotica. So that
No, the
causes a yeah.
audiences can mix. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
so to that end, for anyone who's listening to this and goes, "Oh my God, Becca Syme writes fiction too under different names," could you please let my listeners know who want to check this out? Like, okay, so what are your pseudonyms and give us like the elevator pitch so that people can go check you out. And where do they find
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, the romance. So I wrote romance for a long
And
time
romance
and
as
I
well.
write yeah, romance. The majority of my backlist is romance, and actually some of it is gone
Well, because that
because
was traditionally
the
published, right? Yeah.
yeah, either the contracts have been up and we didn't renew, or I have one book that is still with a traditional publisher that I was supposed to get back that they will not take down.
Does it keep
And
selling?
no, it's not selling at all.
Oh,
And I keep telling them like, you're not sending me royalties, but you won't take my book down. So anyway, that's a whole different conversation. Be really careful about who you sign contracts with,
yes.
publishing contracts with. Um, but so I write mystery is R.L. Syme, and most of my Sweet romance is also under R.L. Syme. And then I write paranormal romance. So the funny like side story that we always tell about my paranormal romance is that I wrote I think we wrote 3 or 4 series of like just shifters, like shifter romance. And then we decided to go kind of big with this like really big idea. We wanted to try something brand new, and we did like a 5 POV contemporary fantasy, but it was about eunuch werewolves. Like, and that's the story I tell all the time is like, watch out for your trailblazer friends. They are not okay. That did not sell, and sort of tanked that pen name a little bit. But my contemporary or my paranormal stuff is under Cameron Reese, and then I have a second paranormal pen name, Macy Dixon. So I have a lot of pen names, and they all sort of serve different functions. But the urban fantasy and paranormal women's fiction is Macy Dixon, and then the Cameron Reese is the shifters. I think we mostly wrote shifters
Right.
there.
When you say
Paranormal
we, that was
romance.
because there was a co-author team that
Yeah, I wrote with a
formed this.
co-author.
Yeah.
My best friend, who also still works with me, Crystal.
Yeah.
Crystal Johnston was Crystal Shannon, and she still
Yeah.
writes. And I think all of those series, she still writes in them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I, if anyone who's a listener to one of your pseudonyms finds this episode, is there anything you would want to let them know or to share with them? Not, this is not for you, writers. This is for Becca's various audiences, other
Oh, the
audiences.
audiences. Yeah, I mean, I would say I would encourage people not to read my fiction unless you're fans of the genre,
Oh
because
yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
like right, because for the just and I would assume this is true about every nonfiction writer.
Yeah.
It is not the same voice, right? It's not the same. Like, you will not read my fiction and be like, "Oh, I recognize this as Becca." It's like
Yeah.
I'm a different writer in that
Yeah.
space. My nonfiction is so personal, and it's almost memoirish on some level. It's very
Yeah.
much me, and the fiction genres are just not like that. They're
Right.
very fictiony. So, but I think that about anybody who writes more than one genre. It's like, enter at your own peril. You may not
Right.
enjoy this. It may not be for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to hear Becca. You're going to hear a completely different writer
Yeah,
in that space.
it's a different voice.
So how do
Yeah.
you when you're working on a nonfiction product, you're working on the various pen names and genres, apart from the co-authorness that may happen with some of them, how do you differentiate that? Like, are there different rituals you follow to get into that zone?
Oh yeah. Yeah. In fact, I have a very specific playlist for each one of those pen names that I listen to. And when we were in New Hampshire last week, I was listening to this contemporary mystery playlist, and I realized that even just listening to the first song, so the first song on the playlist is Marias River Breakdown by Philip Auberg. And it is the whole vibe of this playlist, which I should just put it on Spotify. I actually think it's a really great playlist for people who like write in the West. But Phil Boberg and George Winston are pianists, piano players who are Montana centric and Western centric. And
Okay.
so a lot of these songs are meant to evoke like the plains and the mountains and stuff like that. And I was noticing that even just in listening to that song as I was in New Hampshire, I started feeling more like R.L. Syme voice style stuff come up for me, even just in speaking,
Wow.
because I was trying to get the feel of like, how would I let this little town, the town in real life is called Laconia, and we were driving around Laconia, and I was like, how do I let this little town become part of this vibe that is this the Philip Auberg George Winston playlist, and it even just it's amazing how it just it's like a muscle memory almost, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I have a separate playlist for the more urban fantasy. It's a little grittier. There's more E.S. Posthumous, Paul Schwartz, stuff like that. Almost no stuff with words. Like almost
Right.
everything I listen to is either instrumental or soundtrack.
Right.
And then the paranormal romance is sort of more. like Metamorphosis, probably, yeah, I haven't written it in a long time, so I'm not sure I could even remember that playlist,
Yeah. Wow.
but they are very separate and they almost feel like separate personas maybe that kind of come over me, but just listening to the music is almost enough to
Oh,
do it for
wow.
me.
It's that
Yeah.
auditory trigger, right?
It's
Because
such a
music
trigger.
and auditory can really impact. I know
Yeah.
when I was doing theater and I had to memorize lines, the best way to memorize was to hear it. So I would read and have someone read,
I
cassette
bet.
tapes back in my day. You know, and that's how I memorized. Just running lines couldn't do it for me. I had to hear it over and over, which is why I can quote Monty Python sketches
Oh,
verbatim.
I bet.
Like
Yeah.
that, but it's auditory. I can't just read it and understand it. So, are
Do
there?
you have communication high? Hang on. Now we got to get Mark's strengths out.
She's going back into the.
I am. I'm like, let's go to Gallup. I got to get Mark's strengths out and see.
I think it was somewhere up there. I don't
I
know.
think you do. You, Mark LaFave, you sound like a high communication speaker. So interestingly, just high communication is not a strength that is prevalent among writers, which the being the communication strength, you would assume that it would be,
Yeah, you
but
would.
it's actually like 27 out of 34 among writers because it's more common in spoken word people,
Right.
actors, speakers, teachers, things like that, because it's very much about message and cadence and presentation and embodiment. So, like dancers and poets and songwriters are more likely to have communication
Wow.
than fiction writers and nonfiction writers, who by and large are more introvert on the introverted scale, by and
Usually.
large, not
Yeah.
100%. But you present to me when especially when I see you present on stage, you present like a high communication person. So I'm gonna go see if I can
Just gonna
find your
check that
results.
out.
Yeah. Do you, but you, well, I'm pretty
I
sure you do.
I think it was one of the top four traits.
Yeah.
I think it was. Again, I just can't remember what I had for breakfast. Actually, no,
I
I do
mean,
remember what I had for breakfast because it was the same
oh,
thing that I have every morning. But
what do you have every morning?
I have a whole wheat English muffin with peanut butter and sometimes a slice of banana if I want to pretend I'm being healthier.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah.
normally the at-home breakfast when I have the time. So
Oh, you have connectedness high. Oh, I like that.
connected. No, oh, that maybe it was a C word.
Yeah,
So,
connectedness. So you have empathy,
yeah,
number one, which Roland, by the way, is also a number one empathy,
not surprised.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Very, very,
yeah.
very. Oh, yeah, you're a 10 communication. I'm like, I know you have it
It was in
somewhere
there somewhere. Yeah,
because we've talked about it before. Yeah.
yeah, we did.
Positivity.
Um, there
Cool.
we go. Interesting, fun.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the auditory experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went on a little sidetrack with my Monty Python and song lyrics, which is why I know lyrics I haven't heard in 20 years. I can still just do them verbatim. I was a playlist yesterday when I was driving back from Ottawa, and the song came on. I'm like, I haven't heard this song in like at least 10 years. And I knew every single lyric still,
Yep.
which
And
just blows my.
probably
It's
in
like, why
cadence.
wasted space? I can't even remember my top four, you know, because you know why? Because I didn't hear it over and over again,
Yeah, I was gonna
probably.
say if we talked about it enough also, because the other strengths that you have, so you have connectedness and empathy and positivity and individualization, which are all relationship building strengths. So there's the four domains of strength.
Yeah.
And then you have communication, which is an influencing strength, which is also people focused. So out of your top 10, fully half of them are people focused.
Oh, wow.
So I bet if we talked about your strengths more, like
Yeah.
in person, especially, that they would pick up more memory
Right.
for you
Yeah.
because you're so people focused.
That makes sense. Cool. So now back to after I've sidetracked us several times. The concept of the auditory stimuli where you hear something and
Yeah.
you're there, you're that person again, you're the writer again. Are there other senses that do that for you, like scent potentially, or like, oh, I'm in this field and I can smell the fresh grass, or whatever it is that reminds you of that character? Are there other sensory inputs that do that for you?
Visual for
Yeah.
sure. Like in fact, one of the reasons that we went on the trip at all is because I'm such a sense of place writer, which is really common. I'm also a number two connectedness. And so it's very common for connectedness people to be sense of place writers because it's that connection to like the physical location and almost like the emotion of the space, right? Like
Right.
I've had a really hard time writing my flagship series, The Vanjie Vale Mysteries, because I don't live in Montana anymore. And
Oh,
so there's something about the physical space, the connection to the earth and the connection to the mountains and the connection to the even
wow.
this, like you said, the smells and the sights, that it's hard for me to connect back to that world because I don't live in it anymore. And so I wanted to go to this place to see if I could find some connections there and try and get really hooked into this world so that it would be easier to write. And it's amazing how, and Roland was laughing at me, not in a mean way, but like I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. We drove into Laconia, and I'm like, this is it. Like this is the place. It was
But you
like I
got
could
there.
just feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can see that this would happen here and that would happen here and this place would really be here and here's where the convent would be and here's what, here's where the
Yeah.
apple orchard would be. It was like I could physically see it. There was something about being in the space that just made me able to write in a way that I couldn't previously. And it's why we went on the research trip. I'm such a sense of place writer. So it's
Wow.
much easier for me to write if I'm surrounded by something that feels, like that reminds me of what I'm working on.
Oh, that's amazing. I found when I go camping often, I come back energized about writing. And it's not because I'm writing about, the wilderness. But I find that that resets a lot of the other stimuli in my life. So I can
Yeah.
just, I don't know what it is about the natural environment that does it for me. Sometimes just going on a long nature walk is
Yep.
enough to, set in my, most of my books are set in New York City. So that there's not much nature there except for Central Park, right? Or whatever. But I wonder if there's an element to nature itself that connects you, even if it's not the
Yeah.
same place.
Yeah, like your connectedness is high as well. And so just the connection to the earth is sort of really important for high connectedness people. It's that connectedness is about the interdependence and interconnectedness of the whole human family, right?
Right.
So, like, including how we interact with the earth and how we are connected to the earth. And I feel like connectedness people are so much more often more conscious when they're more connected to natural spaces. So it's easier for me to get in touch with my creativity when I can see. And in fact, I can't remember if we talked about this last time. We may have, because you had just gone on this really long um, uh, digital free walk, and I think both of you guys had gone on this, but
Yeah.
separately, right?
Separately, yeah. Yeah, same
Yeah.
same day, yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about how there's something about being in nature that just changes you a little bit. And
Yeah.
I had done this writing retreat in Arizona, which Arizona's lovely, no shade to Arizona, but it was so not green and not lush,
Right.
and I wasn't used to that feeling, and so it felt so. And then I switched houses to a place on a golf course, which I know is awful, but
Right.
there was something about the water and the
Yeah.
trees and the grass that all of a sudden I could write again. And
Yeah,
it was
even though it
this
wasn't the
weird,
same green.
yeah,
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 okay.
it's so strange. But yeah, there's definitely something for me about that. Sometimes environment is the game changer for whether you are going to be creative or not. And a lot of people are struggling with either like negativity in their environment or with dullness or like deadness or lack of life in their environment. and they don't think about it because it's not something that gets a lot of airtime
Right.
from, like kind of the influencer sphere. But it is a big game changer for writers who have that need for natural connection. They'll get stuck installed and they can't write if they're not, in nature.
Wow. So you did this trip recently, and you re-inspired, and that was just this last week or whatever. So you've still
Yeah,
got that mojo that you
I
picked up.
do.
Okay.
We're still eating the apples that we picked in the apple orchard. Like
Oh,
we came
that
back,
you picked
you know,
yourself.
yes,
Yeah.
we picked ourselves, and we have this, they joke about the bush, I love you a bushel and a peck song, right?
Oh yeah, I
Like
remember
we
that. Yeah.
actually picked a bushel and a peck of apples, which was really cute. So, we brought a bunch of apples back with us, and we are still eating them. So until those run out, I will probably still feel connected on some level. And then I'm trying also to listen to that playlist in the mornings and
Yeah. Of
like
course.
just to retain that sense of connectedness. I took a ton of pictures. So I try to look at the pictures, listen, eat some of the New Hampshire apples, and hopefully then I can kind of retain that. And then we'll go back at some point. But
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
wow, this has been so amazing. Now, I know you and I are going to get to connect in person, which is always a highlight for me. Just for listeners, because this episode will probably be out before then. Any writers who are listening may be able to catch you in Vegas at Author
yep.
Nation, right?
Author Nation, I'm doing a talk Wednesday morning and Thursday morning at Author Nation. And then I'm also going to sign, I think, at the book
At
signing,
the author event. Yeah,
which
yeah.
should be
What
fun.
are the what are the titles of the two talks you're doing there?
So I'm doing the sustainability toolkit,
Okay.
all about sort of like the how to survive and thrive in the publishing industry. And then, oh boy, do you mind if I check really quick what the
No,
other one
not at
is?
all. Of course, I can't even
Sorry.
remember the title of the talk I'm doing. I'm only doing one.
I just g- I just got what's the topic? Do you remember the topic?
Oh, I know the topic. Yeah, I just don't know the title. So-
Oh, marketing for introverts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We
So
were
I'm
talking about
doing,
that before, weren't we,
yeah,
marketing? Yeah.
the sustainability toolkit, building a career that lasts, and then marketing for
Oh,
introverts,
that's going
finding
to
your
be a
readers
packed
without
house.
losing your energy. Yeah, yeah, that should be fun. I'm excited for that one.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Again, Becca, before we close, could you please remind my listeners where they can find out more about you, where they can find this Kickstarter, better, faster, bester, fatter Academy?
Yes, best or fatter.
Man,
Better,
the better,
better,
faster.
yeah, betterfasteracademy.com/links. And all of the links should be there. The Kickstarter link, and then the pre-order link if it's necessary. We're also doing an event at Vegas, and so the
Oh,
registration will be there. Yeah, I'm
so oh,
excited.
you're gonna have a table on Monday.
No, I'm actually doing an off strip event on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, you are.
I am. We're doing
Oh,
all strengths all the time.
oh, that's amazing. Cool for anyone
Yeah.
who gets in early.
Yep. It's
So,
going to be a lot of fun. I'm very
all right.
excited. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I cannot wait to see you
Yeah.
in person, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm actually I'm so looking forward to sharing this with my listeners. So thank
Me
you for
too.
hanging out with me again.
Yeah, thank you. And don't forget to come by the tour stop game and claim your prize from, well, probably the Loki is in charge will be the one for this one because Marvel fans. But
Well, of course.
yeah. Yeah.
And I played Loki at Superstars last year for a skit.
You did? Well, for
Yeah,
sure we have to do the
James
Loki is
Owen
in
and I
charge one
did.
then.
He did Out of Shape Thor, and I was Loki for president. So that
Oh,
we always
nice.
do brother shtick. So that was our
Oh, I
shtick.
like that. Oh, that's great. Well, for sure then we have to do Loki's in
We'll
charge
have to
just
do that
for,
one then. All right.
yeah. So put that in
Becca,
the
thanks.
comments.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Always great to hang out with you.
Thank you.
I wanted to reflect on something Becca talked about. It was how she had never intended to build a business as a coach and nonfiction writer, but how it became something that took over her life. Likely because of how much she intrinsically gets out of helping other writers. She has helped thousands of writers, and their own writing lives are better for it. I'm one of those writers. Every time I've spoken with Becca, I've learned valuable lessons about life, about my own writing life, and about my strengths, as well as a clearer understanding of some of the things I do and have done. And I can really empathize with Becca's fiction writing, taking a back seat to helping other writers. I left full-time employment in 2017 because I was finally starting to make enough money from my writing that I wanted to start doing it full-time. But I couldn't let go of my work in helping the author community. From things like this podcast, which I spend an average of 8 to 10 hours a week on every single week, to the numerous things I do on social media, engaging with other authors, to answering direct messages, emails, and phone calls from writers who need help. Last night at dinner, Joanna Penn and I were talking about a huge issue I have. I find it difficult to say no to people. I am a people pleaser at heart, and given how many decades of experience I have, not to mention the numerous mistakes I've made on my own writing journey, plus the insights of working in the industry, I feel it's important for me to use all that to help others, to pay it forward, to assist writers in whatever way I can. Blame my "with great power comes great responsibility" mentality. But I feel like if I have all this knowledge, all these insights, and I don't offer them to other writers, what's the use of having all that? Or just keeping it to myself? For me, it's about the writing community. It's about the connection. It's about support and propping others up. It's about community and connection. No, doing all that work, and most of it for free or below the rates, I really should be charging writers. It all takes away from my own writing, and that writing has constantly been shortchanged. I know I earn far less than I could if I stopped working to help other writers. But I can't stop, because it's not about the money. It's about the passion. I have a tremendous passion for writing and storytelling. I love it so much. It fulfills me. But I'm also fulfilled by helping others. I get an intrinsic reward for that. And it makes me feel good to help other writers. Even in this hotel room in Vegas, I took a phone call from a 71-year-old writer who I've been mentoring for the past 9 months as he works his way through his very first book, because I know he has a story to tell and the world will be richer for it. So will I ever learn to say no more often and put my own personal writing at the forefront? I don't know. But I do know that I am happy in being able to write, to be a storyteller, to be a speaker, and to be a mentor who gains tremendous satisfaction with helping other writers as they navigate publishing. I suppose it could be a lot worse. After all, I'm fortunate. I'm doing what I love, and earning a living on it, onward and upward, accepting who I am and what drives me. And I have Becca partially to thank for recognizing that about myself. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. And a huge shout out and thank you to my supporters over at patreon.com/starkreflections. That's it for this week and this episode. Until next week and until next episode, this is Mark Leslie Lefebvre wishing you great writing and good Stark reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.